On a personal side, I mean, I don't know if I'm broaching something here I shouldn't talk about, but TD, Jakes.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is TD? Who
Thomas
is TD?
Dexter.
Well, why? How did the TD stick? And they know when he calls you
Now,
Thomas.
that I do not know. And Tom, and the TD was almost stage in the sense that it wasn't until I became popular in ministry that the initial stuck. I can tell you one thing, for book signings, it's wonderful, okay? It cuts your time in half. But the odd story behind the TD is that my grandfather's name was TD. My grandfather was murdered in his early 20s.
Really?
Yeah, he was murdered by white racists in Mississippi. Whoa. And my grandmother was pregnant at the time and waiting for him to come home for dinner, and he was at the bottom of the lake wrapped in barbed wire.
My goodness.
And he was murdered on June the 9th. And fast forward many years later, my mother got pregnant and gave birth to me on June the 9th. Whoa. And named me after him, not knowing that I was born on the day that he was murdered.
Has that affected your thinking over the years? That is part of your heritage, that your grandfather was murdered in that fashion?
I think it has given me an appreciation for the evolution of America. I think that it has given me an appreciation of self-worth. I think it has made my values resonate in areas that people cannot see. I came up in an era where my father had to drive to the back of the restaurant to get food for us. So when you come from those kinds of atrocities that I vividly remember, though America likes to think that they were many years ago, you learn to build your family from within. We value each other because we did not have the benefit of being socially acceptable at the time. So yes, it shaped my worldview. It's not left me bitter. It's left me better.
The fact that this congregation transcends race, is interracial, and you've been able to pull that off. Of course, it's that ongoing line that Sunday mornings is the most segregated hour of the week. Your church is not true.
No, not at all.
How did you pull that off?
I think the church is a reflection of the person. And for me, love has no boundaries, and I love people. And I grew up in West Virginia where it was 95% non-black. So if we didn't have white friends, we didn't have any friends at all. So, I think that because my father died when I was 16 and got sick when I was 10, he taught me to breathe deeply of life. That you don't stay in a tunnel or see life from a silo, but you do in fact breathe deeply of every day because tomorrow's not promised to you. And when you were raised by a dying father, you become broad in your thinking and you become deep in your breathing.
You talk a lot about family. Your wife was Serita? How long have you been married?
33 years.
33 years, and 5 children?
5 children.
How have you been able to maintain the balance between your home, which is the first church, right?
Right.
To all the other things you're involved in? You've maintained that balance, but I'm sure not without its challenge.
Exactly, exactly. The question is the compliment, probably what I don't deserve. I think that, no, we've not been divorced. We stayed married for 33 years. We've had bumps and wrinkles like anybody else, but I think that is the beauty of marriage, that sometimes I have been out of balance. And we loved over top of it. I think what my children learned about family with us is that love is stronger than you think. And it's tougher than you think. And if it's not tough, it's not real.
You were saying that a moment ago, that your schedule, your life is not your own. Is there ever, you have to find time to take a break. Where do you find your Sabbath rest?
Job says that his bow was renewed in the air, and I think that I find a certain amount of renewal from the chaos of my life. I refuel in the air. I no longer think that the world is going to perish if I don't preach every day. And I no longer think that I can single-handedly change the world. I now realize that was not my call to change it, but to contribute to it.
But you are affecting it, and
yes,
you've moved beyond just preaching, teaching the church, immediate church world, How did you get into the film world? What's that all about?
I've always been a dramatist in some regard, even in the pulpit. It is inherent in my personality. I think that Jesus knew something that I am learning, that people are more comfortable with seeing life painted on the canvas of another person. And through that extrapolation, they can get content for themselves. If you're going to be a good steward of a word that God gave you, you have to be a good steward to the point that you put that message out in all the languages that people can hear it, whether it is through sight or through sound or through music or through books. It is understanding that the same person who goes to a movie may not be the person who came to church. And the person who goes to a Barnes & Nobles or Walmart or a Christian bookstore and picks up a book may not go to movies. And if it was important enough that God would say it, then why would we not become all things to all people?
To complete that thought, by all means, win some, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone.
You're not going to win them all.
I don't want to get political here, and you don't either. But the black community or minority community have been having conflicts with the police, for instance, the Ferguson situation. How do you teach your people how to relate to the policeman who is, the scripture says, is a minister of the gospel? But there's a balance in here somewhere that we seem to be missing, and it's running into issues and problems for us.
Boy, if we start down this trail, this is going to be a long, winding road. Okay?
Okay.
So I don't know whether I should buckle my seatbelt or you, but let's go there.
All right, go ahead.
I think that what we're seeing on the sidewalk is a symptom of a far deeper, more important issue. I think that it is, yes, it is, we are seeing the loss of respect for all types of authorities, whether you're talking about fatherhood or pastors or executives. Just the hemorrhaging of respect in general is beyond human comprehension. Having said that, I don't think that that is the total answer that we need to make. You respect people who wear blue, because I think there's a deeper scream coming out of the heart of this country. I think that we have a criminal justice system that has been hijacked by politics. I think that we have created a system that has inequities for people. I think that we have penalized people for small mistakes in their youth and left them marred the rest of their lives without the ability to get a job, to get proper housing, to be able to get back up on our feet again. And we who sit in our bedroom communities on our couches and watch television say, this is America. You should work, get a job, be responsible. But then the same people who say that, when they see that you have a prior record, would never hire you or rent to you. So you cannot integrate and discriminate at the same time and call it justice. I think that the police officer and those who wrestle with them are just symptoms of those who they represent. A whole world of people. And we are creating these septic tanks of frustration. And until we go in there and clean this system out and make sure that there is justice for all, we cannot look at stats that say that there are inequities between how blacks and whites are handled when they commit the same crime and step over that and have lunch and then say, obey the guy in blue. If we are going to be not just spiritual but intelligent people, we have to take up the cry of the disenfranchised, no matter the color, and work to do things in a way that is fair and just for all people. The church needs to be leading the way in this conversation.
Where is the church?
The church is totally silent about race. We are ourselves dysfunctional in our ability. We're family, but we're a dysfunctional family because we cannot talk about the elephant in the middle of the room. And until we do, then the people in the street are taking up the conversation. And I think that they are God's judgment on a silent church. And until the church becomes relevant for the community that it serves and takes on the difficult issues and goes beyond the kumbaya message, Jesus is coming in the morning, what do we do through the night?
Right.
That is the message the church should hear, that our silence has caused blood to flow in the streets of the cities that we drive past on the highways to go to mission fields around the world, ignoring mission fields in our own city.
What you're saying now is a prophetic voice.
Right.
The church is to be prophetic, to
Yes.
speak to the issues of the day, root causes, etc.
Right.
We're not doing that. So here's the question. How do I, what you're reciting, how do I love my enemies?
I think that love begins with the common human experience that we all have. And I think that the loving your enemy gets down to the basic human issues: air, water, lights, food, family, basic human essentials. At least let's love on the level that we exist, and then debate on the level that we think. But we have lost all respect and civility. And I think that it comes back to just respecting people because God made them. And how can you say you love God who you have not seen?
Right.
And hate that is a reflection that he created? You cannot worship him up there while you resent him right here.